Entrepreneurship is hard. You're going to need help. You're going to need support, and ask people around you what they can do for you. Not everybody will say yes, but you will be surprised at just how many do say yes and will do something big or small that allows you to take a next step in your journey.
Welcome to A Founder's Life. I'm your host, Leo Gestetner. On this show, we dive into the real stories behind the highs and lows of entrepreneurship and how we pursue a more balanced and meaningful life along the way. This podcast is sponsored by Thanks, helping founders like us scale with reliable remote talent. Now, I'm excited to be joined today by JD LaRock from NFTE. Excited because for many reasons, including the fact that I've known JD for a while and know and love NFTE. And I'm excited that JD is going to kick off. So JD, can you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Hi, Leo. Great to be with you and with your audience. Again, my name is JD LaRock, and I'm the president and CEO of the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, affectionately known as NFTE. We're a global nonprofit that works in the US and around the world to help young people from underserved communities learn how to launch businesses. And I've been CEO now for about 6 years, following a career in government and academia.
Well, thank you. Do you want to talk a little bit about your journey? So what brought you to NFTE? And then let's dive in a little bit about what NFTE is doing and how NFTE is helping to elevate students.
My journey is really about my family's commitment to education and using education to provide opportunities so that people can make the most of themselves and their lives. My parents are public school teachers, retired now. I have a brother who is in his 18th year of teaching elementary school in Queens, New York. And so I joined the family vocation, but in a different way. All of my jobs and my career dealt with education, but they were largely different from being a teacher. I have been a spokesperson for a school system. I've been a television reporter covering education. I've worked in Massachusetts state government on education, in the federal government in the US, working on laws related to education, and even at the international level at places like the OECD. So education has been the through line of all of my efforts, but whether it's policy or media or PR or actually teaching, I actually at some point began to teach as a professor at Northeastern University myself, but education has been the through line. So what I really appreciate about my journey is that it has allowed me to learn about this topic that I love and which I think is really vital for people, and to learn about it and examine it from many, many different perspectives, many different levels of society and government, and from early education to K-12 education to higher education and more. And the way it connects to NFTE is that entrepreneurship is really connected to anything in education that you might think of. Underneath the act of starting a business is the development of a mindset that can carry individuals productively and passionately and in a fulfilling way through life. And so at NFTE, we are focused on, yes, developing the next generation of diverse business owners, but also, more importantly, cultivating the entrepreneurial mindset in learners so that they can take that mindset to whatever endeavor they wish to pursue in their professional lives and their personal lives as an entrepreneur or as an employee or just as a productive member of society.
Thank you. I always love when I talk about NFTE to describe it as, obviously part of it is what NFTE describe it, which is the entrepreneurial mindset. But I often say that really we're teaching two things. One is how to think differently and the other is how to have confidence. I think with those two skill sets, whether you start your own business or you get a job, you'll get a better job. You'll do better in life. And I think that's why our graduates earn on average 50% more than their classmates. So it's a great methodology, a great start that we're offering to these kids.
I quite agree. And let me pick up on what you mentioned about confidence. As I reflect on just my life and the lives of people around me, particularly the life of my daughter, who is entering her teenage years, I reflect a lot on the fact that a barrier that holds so many people back is just an inherent lack of confidence, a fear of how expressing oneself will be perceived by others, a fear that one's ideas or thoughts are not good enough, just a fear to speak up and speak out. And entrepreneurship education does cultivate confidence because it starts with the idea that one's interest, hobby, passion can be a business and that can be developed. And our process, what we do at NFTE, really is about just supporting that premise. So we're trying to be confidence builders to young people in a very real way by taking their ideas seriously and taking them seriously. I often tell my team when I have visited a NFTE classroom or come away from a NFTE competition that beyond the specific skills we're cultivating, one of the main things that we do is just we show young people that we are taking them seriously. And when young people see that they are being taken seriously, that helps to begin to give them the confidence to take a chance, to express themselves, to build confidence in one small step. And that then builds upon itself as the students continue to go through our process.
And talk to us a little bit about family, what family means to you, how your family looks.
Well, I've mentioned again, the family I was born into, where everybody is passionate about education and its importance. Feel really lucky to have grown up in that family because that belief, which was always a part of my life, really helped me develop my own agency and my own confidence. I was mentioning to someone the other day that by the time I entered the age that my daughter's at in high school, I was doing so many things independently. I was traveling from one borough of New York to another to go to school independently. I was involving myself in civic affairs independently, identifying enrichment opportunities, learning and cultural opportunities independently. And I don't think that any of that would have happened without the idea that my parents implanted in me that education and learning is vital to human development and can really take you far if you commit to it. In my family, beyond that, I have my wife and my daughter. My wife is a sign language interpreter, which I find to be a fantastic and fascinating profession. If you've ever watched a sign language interpreter, and I believe you have, you know that it's a very beautiful language. It's a visual language. It's very rich. And I've enjoyed watching my wife live out her profession that she's very passionate about. And our daughter has got her own interests and a combination of things that we emphasize in our family. Right now, she is very focused on cultivating a deeply aesthetic sensibility in her life. She is someone who is interested in harmony and beauty and aesthetics and making sure that people have that in their lives. We were speculating that at this point, if she chooses a career, it might be, as one of those lifestyle influencers who cultivates a very refined sensibility of how to enjoy the world and be at peace in the world and telling that story. So great family. And I really appreciate learning from their perspectives too.
That's lovely. I don't know sign language and hopefully I never have to learn it. I say that being because, as you know, I'm 75% deaf, so you never know. But I did go to an event last year where as part of this event, it was for people who are hard of hearing and things like that. And actually they had they had like a musician and they had something on stage and like a party in one of the evenings. And they actually had a sign language person signing the songs, which was interesting to watch.
My wife has done that. She signed an Eric Clapton concert one time.
Wow, that's cool. So talk to us a little bit about health and what that means to you and your health journey. I think this year you've really kicked off new health and a new lease of life.
Yes, in no small part due to your example and your advice, because I know that you have gone through that similar journey. I can't really tell you why I decided to change my approach toward my diet and eating and just general lifestyle, except to say that I felt like it was time to make a change and to take a fresh look at how I was taking care of my body. I'll tell you, Leo, that maybe the change is simply that throughout my life, because I have been very focused on things like academic and school, I was a very dedicated student. I've always considered myself as being primarily living up here. And perhaps, to my detriment, it didn't have to be this way, but I didn't necessarily cultivate in the same way, thinking about the rest of me. And I decided just at the beginning of this calendar year to start doing so and combined what had been years of working out with trainers and things like this, but not having necessarily the results physically in terms of weight and tone happen. I decided, well, I'm going to take a really fresh look at it. So I very much changed my diet. Honestly, simple things. I eliminated sugar as much as possible. That was probably the main thing. And then without cutting out much else, I just really brought up the level of vegetables and fish in my diet and brought down, eliminated red meat essentially, but then, stuck to chicken and fish and mostly fish. The result has been a weight loss of 70 pounds as we record this podcast today. I'm very happy about it. And, I'm very pleased I'm mostly pleased that I've been able to make a change at this point in my life. And I'm not young, I'm in middle age. And to know that I could have a goal and pursue it and see the progress and benefit from it has been very satisfying. And I owe you a lot of credit because I do remember well a conversation we had where I asked you about a similar journey. And I don't know if this meant a lot to you, but it stuck in my head. What you said was, I changed my relationship with food. And when I was embarking on this, I remembered that sentence. You didn't even really explain what it meant for you, but I gave my own interpretation to it. And now I can say I have changed my relationship with food.
Absolutely love that. And, congratulations. How are you feeling? Are you actually feeling better now? Are you
Yes.
feeling more energy?
The thing is, I had a lot of energy before. So the good news is I think I have even more in some ways. But I think the main thing is, just in terms of different physical activities that require a little bit more longevity, that what might have been creeping up in terms of not such a great ability to do them now is no problem at all. And so that's really good.
And, they say that the body really is made in the kitchen. So yes, exercise is important. And, I'm a massive believer in exercise and it's important for many different things. But in the end, food is by far the most important thing in terms of losing weight. In terms of fitness, other exercises are important as well, especially as you age and helping support the body. But yes, I mean, if you're eating healthily, that's by far the most important first step.
Probably the thing I'm most pleased about is that my wife and I are able to present a good example to our daughter around healthy eating. I don't think I had the most horrible eating habits before, but quite clearly it wasn't doing the job. So I'm very pleased that I can model something different and that has a good outcome to it.
I'd agree with that one as well. I think the fact that both of my kids have a healthy relationship with, I'm going to call it health and fitness, food being part of that, but health and fitness generally, I can definitely take quite a lot of credit from. They saw me as, my unhealthy side, and they've seen me as my healthy side. And that's definitely where they choose to live. And that will suit them for the rest of their lives. So yes, the examples we set for our kids will be with them for the rest of their lives. I didn't have that example when I was a kid. Not that my parents were unhealthy, but by seeing that move for me, by seeing that change in me, it's a step beyond not being unhealthy to being healthy.
Yes, I think the change and having a child witness the change is what's important because it emphasizes the point that the change in behavior, the change in food produces a result. And if you want one path, you can make one choice and see how that winds up. And if you want another path, you can make a different choice. And so it brings home the substance of the matter in a way that maybe living with a parent who had established eating habits that worked for them wouldn't do, because it would just be seen as the status quo. Seeing the positive change is actually powerful.
And what do you like to do for fun?
I do a lot around art and culture. I'm a big lover of music. I grew up playing music, grew up playing the violin. If I weren't doing education and entrepreneurship and nonprofit work, I'd probably be a singer-songwriter. So I like to listen to music and study music, and my family and I go to a lot of theater and art exhibits as well. We spend a lot of time as a family just doing routine things that mean something to us, little outings in the towns around where we live in Massachusetts. And generally, we like to get outdoors and experience what the world has to offer. So, more and more, especially as I get a little bit older, I'm trying to balance my interest in living a life of the mind with real immersion in what the world has to offer. I'm quite hopeful that, and I know that this is something that you're exploring now in your phase of life, I'm quite hopeful that the future will have continued opportunities for me and my family to do interesting things in our community, in the country, and around the world together.
And what does a balanced life look like for you?
When I find that, I'll let you know. I would say though that the journey that we were just touching on, my fitness journey, has been in the direction of establishing greater balance. One of the things I've grappled with throughout my life has been that I do have a strong sense of ambition and agency and energy for myself. I'm not one to sit back and let the world pass me by. I have things that I hope to do in the world, and I've tried to live my life thus far to do them. So that doesn't necessarily lend itself to balance. However, as I've gone along this journey, I certainly have realized that the mind body connection is much more important than I might have given credit to at the beginning. And taking care of that now is really essential to supporting, the mental habits and the mental acuity and the mental capacity that's necessary for people who do want to achieve different things in nonprofit work or business or academia or what have you. So I would say balance for me these days looks like, making sure I get enough sleep, making sure that I sustain healthy eating and exercise habits, spending sufficient, that's a loaded word, but spending good time with my family and making sure I'm not disconnected from them because they're what really matters most. And then having that feed into what I do at NFTE in support of our organization and our students.
And talk to us about what has been a pivotal moment in your life.
I will say that a pivotal moment was when somebody who was around one of my workplaces took a real interest in me in a way that I didn't ask for, but I very much welcomed, and gave me several opportunities actually to engage further in professional endeavors in a way that really allowed me to broaden my horizons and broaden my capacities and become a CEO. The person's name is Steve Kadish. He was the chief operating officer at Northeastern University when I met him. And at that time, I was chief of staff at the university, working for the president of the university. And Steve shifted from that role to go work for Charlie Baker, who was our last governor in Massachusetts. He went to become Governor Baker's chief of staff. And before very long, Steve reached out to me and with just asking if I wanted to get involved with the administration in different ways. At first, it was an opportunity to chair the board of my local community college. Steve had seen what I'd done in education, seemed to appreciate my approach, my thinking. It's a volunteer role, but of course, the board chair role is an important role. In Massachusetts, the governor gets to appoint community college board chairs. And so I said, yeah, I'll do that. And I had known the college because of my previous work in government. And that was the beginning of a 10-year leadership journey as chair of the board of that college. It was then followed by a subsequent invitation by Steve and the governor to lead Massachusetts Workforce Development Authority, a role that is crucial to what I do now at NFTE because entrepreneurship education was very much part of the organization's activities, as well as supports for small businesses and other youth development type of programs. I bring this up as the pivotal moment because, again, I didn't ask for it. It was somebody who was observing his world, his professional world, of which I was a part, and for whatever reason, seeing something that he thought was positive and then giving one chance and then another. I definitely wouldn't be a CEO of NFTE if I hadn't been CEO of the Commonwealth Corporation, Massachusetts Workforce Development Authority. I wouldn't be as good a CEO at NFTE if I hadn't been a CEO beforehand, because as you know, being a CEO is hard. And I'm very glad I had a run at it somewhere else before coming to NFTE. I think the fact that I've been here for 6 years and counting is very much because I learned in some good ways and sometimes the hard way from my first CEO experience. But it all goes back to this person who entrusted me with important opportunities. And, when I finished up my second term as chair of the board at North Shore Community College, I wrote Steve a note and I said, I want to just say thank you for spotting whatever you spotted in me that made you come to me with this opportunity. You entrusted something to me, something of value. And what I'd like to let you know, Steve, is that I took care of it. That after 10 years as board chair, I can tell you confidently that this college is in a better place than it was when I arrived. And I was one piece of that journey, but thank you for giving me an opportunity to take something of value and to take care of it and to cultivate it. Knowing that I can do that now helps me at Nifty as we are considering not just the continued care and cultivation of our organization, but in my leadership at Nifty, we're now entering a phase of, merging and acquiring and combining with others to bring entrepreneurship education in the world more powerfully. I can't talk too publicly about that at this moment in time, but I can talk about that as our strategy. Steve hadn't set me on the path to begin learning how to do things like that, how to act with others to cultivate positive things. I don't think we'd be doing that today. So, Steve, thank you.
Excellent. How many children, actually, how many adults? Because we're now actually helping adults as well, although children are still the core. How many children has Nestle educated last year?
Yeah. Right now, about 75,000 students, mostly high school students, but some college students, as you mentioned, and middle school students, and actually even elementary school students now have gone through our deeper Nifty in-school program. So we have different levels of programs, but the core program, it's a formal class within a school that teaches a young person in a semester or a year how to create a business plan and how to hopefully launch a business. About 75,000 students across about 30 US states and about 30 countries now. A hallmark of my leadership has been amplifying Nifty's global visibility and activity. As we move ahead, and particularly in the context of our forthcoming organizational expansion, we're also now looking at our digital reach, which I don't talk so much about, is growing in importance as AI and everything just becomes more and more a force in our lives. Nifty this year will reach about 200,000 students through various forms of digital programming. So we're well on our way to becoming the largest provider of entrepreneurship education in the world. And we certainly, with maybe one exception, are the most global. And that's a nice point of pride. Our founder had this idea that Nifty would one day support the ability of every student around the world to learn how to start a business. And I'm hopeful that our continued work will give further life to that ambitious vision.
And that's impressive, and it's Frex growth since I first got involved in Nifty, which is fantastic to see. I love seeing the difference in kids' lives. And what would be one piece of advice you'd give to an aspiring entrepreneur?
The one piece of advice I'd give to an aspiring entrepreneur is not to underestimate the number of people who are genuinely willing to help you without the expectation of anything in return. Find the Steve Kadishes in your life. They may be your Nifty teacher. They may be me. They may be one of our Nifty staff members who is really willing to take an interest in you. Many, many people are willing to take an interest in you, even if they don't know you. So my piece of advice to a young entrepreneur is, entrepreneurship is hard. You're going to need help. You're going to need support, and ask people around you what they can do for you. Not everybody will say yes, but you will be surprised at just how many do say yes and will do something big or small that allows you to take a next step in your journey.
And how can people find you?
We are everywhere. We are online at www.nifty.com. That's NF like Frank, T like Thomas, E like Eagle.com. You can find us or me on LinkedIn, and that's a really great way to connect to all the latest of what we're doing. We have many events and online competitions that students can take part in. So start with the website or LinkedIn, also TikTok, Instagram. You can find us. Just look for NFTE or the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. You get looped right into our communications so that if you or your child would like to take part in what we do, we can include you. Nifty is for everybody. We are focused on providing opportunity to the underserved, but we do many things to reach a broader audience as well. And we'd love to have anybody who's interested connect with us.
Well, I'm excited to see where it can go in terms of, I remember sitting down with you, must have been about a week before COVID, when you came to LA. Obviously, none of us knew that COVID was in full swing and lockdown was about to start. And I pitched an idea which never quite happened, but hopefully will now, which was creating what at the time I called a virtual Nifty. Before we're teaching everyone virtually, but to really create a program that can go across the country, I guess, internationally as well. And, what I loved about the idea of that was really mixing, say, somebody in New York with work on a project with someone in LA, allowing people to also understand different backgrounds, different cultures, but being able to have an online program that really can help accelerate what Nifty is offering and to reach a lot more. Hopefully that's something that will happen as well.
Well, I'm glad to let you know that a version of that, in fact, is happening now. So our very latest course offering is called Next Level Startup. And it is our largest foray yet into direct to consumer, direct to student offerings. As I've mentioned, we do a number of online things, but this is our first ever kind of built out formal class that is direct to consumer. And I mention this because it is a global cohort of students. It's in a initial pilot phase that's running right now as we record this podcast. And there is a cohort of about a dozen learners, mostly high schoolers, but they are international in scope. They are from a couple countries in Europe, as well as many different places in the US. And what this course is, it combines AI tools with the business plan ideation and development process. So at each step of that process, ideation, identifying your customer segment, working on the financials, working on the marketing, building out your pitch, et cetera, our team has figured out which open source AI tool, ChatGPT, Canva, on, Wix, which works better with that stage of the business plan process. And so students who go through the course are both educated on how to use that AI tool in the proper way to support a business plan development, and then they develop their business plan as well. So we have high hopes for this. I actually was meeting with the development team that launched this course yesterday. It's going real well, and we hope that it can be the seedbed for much, much, much larger direct-to-consumer activity. So thanks for getting that thought planted in my mind 6 years ago, because Leo Gestetner thoughts are good. They never leave my brain, as you can see from what I was sharing earlier on the fitness journey. You've got some good things. You've definitely got some good things you told me over the years on the education journey too.
Well, I'm excited to see where both your personal journey and where the Nifty journey goes. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Leo. Always a pleasure to be with you.
And thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, and please leave a review.